Let's go over some information about the interview segment for the Stratazine podcast. Interview segment is the longest part of the podcast and very important, so let's go over what's a part of that. The hardest part, of course, is coming up with your topic, and once you do, make sure that you really research it so you know what you're talking about. So again, I use an example of social media engagement, and you refine that topic. Do a lot of research so you know what's going on in that area so you can talk intelligently about it. Then, as a group, come up with questions for your interview that will be interesting to your persona and also will be appropriate for your person that you asked to be the interview guest. So choose a faculty member that will have expertise on your topic. We have lots of faculty members who can do an excellent job. And then arrange for a time to do the interview with them and then prepare yourself and them for that interview. So let's talk about that. Team member number 2 will make arrangements for the interview. So you're responsible for coming up with all the things you need to do to make sure that happens. Let's do that. All right, let's talk about the interview segment for your Stratazine podcast. One of the most important parts, the longest part of your podcast, typically 5 to 7 minutes, somewhere in there. The most important part is to choose your topic well. I use the example of a topic of social media engagement, and then you refine that down to a beginner's guide to meaningful social media engagement. It's important to do a lot of research to find out what that really means and what's going on with that, so you know the terminology, and also so you can connect with your audience. You want to make sure you come up with questions that will fit for your person you're interviewing, but also will be interesting to your persona. Then choose a faculty member who has expertise on the topic, and we've got lots to choose from. And arrange a time to meet up with them. Typically, you can make arrangements for their office, so you can go do the interview there. And then make sure you're well prepared for the interview, and also the faculty member is well prepared by you telling them what they need to do. So team member number 2 will make the arrangements for the interview. Make sure you set up the time. So contact the faculty member well ahead of time. Don't make it a last minute thing for sure. Explain clearly what the interview is and what it's for, what the topic will be. Give examples of questions of the focus of your topic, and you can actually give them questions that you might want them to think about. Now, team member number 1, you will run the camera to shoot the video for the interview. Of course, other people can help. Anybody in the team can help with this. Now, this is a script I'll have you turn in. So you'll turn this in before you do the interview. Give us the name of the guest, the title of the guest. So, for example, if it's Jason Reeder, you can put faculty member, social media expert. You decide what's appropriate. And then this gives you an example of an introduction that you can use when you start your interview. I have a list of questions. Put as many questions as are needed. I just have 2 here. You could have 5 or 10. Make sure you have more questions than you'll need. Nothing worse than running out of questions. You can always not ask some of the questions. And then at the end of the interview, thank the guest for sharing their expertise, and then you can stop the interview there. I have equipment that you can use. So I have 3 kits that have a rig like the one you see in the middle that you can mount your smartphone on. I have lavalier microphones that you can plug into your smartphone and attach to the interview and the interviewer, so both of you. There's a small light that will help you kind of lighten up their eyes a little bit, but it's not a really powerful light. And you'll need to check out a tripod from the production office, which you can do that. And we'll talk about doing that later. This should be the basic framing for the interview. Have the guest and the host sit close together, facing each other, but slightly angled so we can see their faces. And then I just have them talk to each other. The host will address the camera once to introduce the interview and then just talk back and forth. This is a Q&A. And at the very end, then the host can turn back to the camera as they thank the guest for being on the show. Important things, keep your camera at eye level with the people on camera. So your phone, your camera should be right at the same level as the eyes of the people interviewing. If they're seated, then make sure it's about the same level so we're not looking down on them. Certainly don't want to be looking up at them. So right approximately eye level. If you put the light on top of the camera, it's slightly elevated, but just make sure it's not blasting the people in the eyes and that it doesn't make them see spots, but that it just lightens up their face a little bit. Once you're all done shooting it, then group member number one, the group member who's in charge of interviewing is also in charge of editing. So I like CapCut, but you can use any video editor you want. Go ahead and create a project in your video editor and import the interview into the timeline. You're going to want to trim up the beginning and end. So trim the fat, make sure you start right at the beginning of the interview and you end right at the end. And then adjust any audio levels you might need. Look for anything that might need tweaking. If there's anything that happened in the middle that you have to adjust for, go ahead and do that. Then you want to export it. Again, you can use any editor you want, but typically export it out at a 1080p resolution in MP4. If you have questions on that, you can ask me, and then go ahead and export it out. Once you do that, then I will give you some examples of how to upload that in Canvas. But here's a little example of kind of the framing. This one is in the studio, but what you can look for with your interview.
You've been a board member at Anchor DMC, a growth advisor at Law Search Media, and now are currently a professor of marketing at the OU.
I would say here, this is not bad. I would probably angle them a little bit more so we see more than one eye on the side of their face. So they're still facing each other, but they're angled towards the camera just a little bit more, and maybe just slightly closer together. But if you're doing it in their office, you probably will be slightly closer together. But this is the basic look that we're going for. All right, once it's all done, then create a folder on your Google Drive. And I suggest everyone have a Google Drive where you put the stuff you're assigned, but also that you assign one person in your group to host everything on their Google Drive, everything for your group assignment. So make a Google Drive, a folder on your Google Drive, and label it with your group number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Then what you want to do is find your files, go ahead and upload those to your Google Drive. Make sure they're named appropriately. Then you want to share those, and when you do share them, make sure that you share them with access to anyone with a link. So when you copy that link and any of us click on it, we'll get to it and won't be restricted from seeing it. Okay, once you find your assignment, go ahead and put that in, and then what you'll do is go here to your Canvas and copy and paste that right in there, and you'll be able to turn it in. Okay, hopefully that helps as you're putting together the interviews for your podcast.